So I think the video had a solid basis, but it was very unorganized. There was a lot of things that didn't really... I think I cast too far of a net into what Slop actually is, and that, I think, was quite a problem.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Deep Blue. My name is Casey, and for today's guest is one of my favorite content creators and YouTube's very first scholar, Mr. Raymundo 2112. How are you doing today?
How's it going, everybody? YouTube's first scholar here in the virtual flesh. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually like really crazy to me. So I just want to say one thing to you, and it's like, you don't eat your own kind. It's not natural.
Well, you're a deep diver. Holy crap!
Yeah,
are you referring to the commercial that I did? The commercial parody from Pizza Productions. Holy crap!
I looked up Raymundo Con. Is it Con?
Yeah. It's Cone. But
Raymundo Cone?
Cone, like an ice cream cone, is the easiest way to...
Okay. I looked up Raymundo Cone on YouTube, and that was the first video that popped up, was that M&M commercial video.
Yeah, that's actually really funny, because for a time, before the Raymundo 2112 name was a thing, it was Ray Gamerman first. And Ray Gamerman I had put as my legal name when I was 9 years old. And you can't make money on YouTube without your legal name, so I had to change it. And it was just my name. So the channel was named Raymundo Cone for like a solid month and a half in 2021. And then YouTube, just coincident, I was so lucky, because they happened to roll out a feature right there where you could change your account name and channel name. So I was like, thank God. And then now Raymundo 2112 is what we've got for real now.
Nice.
Yeah.
So recently your band Polybius, which is named after the iconic video game urban legend, you guys released a recent EP called Derpy Hooves with it being named, and it has the cover of the iconic My Little Pony character. This is a character you did a whole video on. Is everything all right?
Oh yeah, just showing the CD right here.
Are you selling that?
Soon. Yeah. I'm gonna put them on Etsy. I made them initially for selling them whenever we do shows. My fans want physical copies, so I'm gonna start selling them for like $1 or $2, because I don't know, I think it'd be fun. But yeah, you get a bonus song, or you get a demo and a hidden track on them here that you can't get anywhere else. So yeah, some cool stuff there. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're all good. So with Polybius, and it's also not even your only band. I think I remember you have two other bands, the Scallywags, and then you're a drummer of another band.
That's right.
So how these
Cheesemole is the other band.
Yeah. Cheesemoles. That's what the name was. Yep. So with all these bands, like, how did this start? Because you've been playing drums, and then you're also a frontman of two other bands, and also you created your own genre, which is cringecore, or at least not exactly created, but really innovated it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I came up with it, at least in my mind I created it. I'm not sure if someone else already established it, but it popped in there. I was like, that's what we are. That's what we're doing. But yeah, it started off... I've always just been into doing music since I was a kid. I always wanted to be a drummer. And then in 2012, I got a drum kit for Christmas. And I wasn't very good at it, but I tried. And then in like 2018, there was this program here in Brooklyn where you could basically pay to put your kids in a band, essentially. They'd get other people who are similar age and a teacher, and then you'd make music. And then you'd have a show at the end of the, curriculum, something like that. And so I was doing that for a while, and then I kind of grew out of it. Or I just kind of stopped doing it through 2020 and stuff like that. And one of the band members who I had met through that was, someone who I'd stayed friends with. And I had this idea. I'd listened to 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, which is my favorite My Chemical Romance album. I listened to it for the first time in the summer of 2021, and I was like, we need to play Helena on stage this Halloween. And she was like, got it, boss, and put together this amazing show called Smells Like Halloween Spirit. And that's where Polybius came from. He put together a band that was just like her family and me. And I'm like, what do we call it? I've always been obsessed with Polybius. I've always thought it was the coolest urban legend ever. And part of me really wants it to be real. And I really want to play an actual Polybius. It's like 90% not real, but there's still that 10% chance that it was, and I hold out on that. But so we've been actually around for like 3 years now. which is longer than most bands in the scene. So we got staying power. But we weren't really cringecore until this summer when we played a 2000s night show, and I realized, like, oh, you know what? Because we've been doing more like emo, sort of like pop punk cousin stuff was the general thing. Like we do that, or like Halloween music. And then I realized, like, oh, wait a minute, I actually like this way better. And yeah, I pulled out an old My Little Pony shirt I owned from when I was 10 years old, and I cut it up. And the effects have been irreversible from that decision since. It's like really, you can see the buckle there.
Yeah. By the Derpy Hooves buckle. I tried looking that up, and it's like $100, $200. I went to buy it for myself because I was also a big My Little Pony fan.
Oh, no way! That's so real.
Yeah, I want to buy that. My favorite pony, out of the main 6, it's Rarity, but if it's in general, I like DJ Pone 3.
Ooh, yeah, she's my second favorite. So yeah. I would always say Pawn 3. I don't know if that's the proper way. Vinyl Scratch, that one's easier to. It's more universal.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that name.
Yeah. That's the one other figure that I kept. I have my Derpy Hooves, but I not on display. But I have a DJ Pone 3 in a desk somewhere in my house. But yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, the belt buckle wasn't cheap, unfortunately. But it was also a tax write-off. So,
nice.
There's a little there's push and pull there.
Yeah. So you started the whole cringecore thing back in the summer of thousands. I was trying to look for like a full recording of that because I remember watching clips of it on your story. You guys were singing the Ninjago theme, and then I heard the "Do You Like Waffles" song. I was like, I need to hear the full thing. I need to watch this.
I could send you the full set, honestly. Yeah.
So what other songs did you play? Because I definitely remember those two. And didn't you play a My Little Pony, like a creepypasta song on?
So we played Ready to Die, which is an Andrew WK song that was used in the Cupcakes animation that traumatized a generation. That rhymed.
It got me too.
Yeah. So you remember, you better get ready to die. I actually love the song. Yeah. Like, I found it through the animation, but I discovered Andrew WK through that, and I'm like, okay, I love this stuff. But we played that at last year's Halloween show. And then, so the set list for the first official cringecore show was a punk cover of I Will Follow You Into the Dark, the Death Cab for Cutie song, All Star by Smash Mouth, which was definitely our worst song of the night. And then we had the Lego Ninjago song, which people loved. And then we did a mashup, kind of Justin Bieber's Baby, which we then transitioned into Call Me Maybe. And then it was the Perry Grip songs. Then we did Raining Tacos, Do You Like Waffles, Narwhals.
Narwhals, that's a classic.
What was the other one? I feel like that's... And the Duck song. We closed it with the Duck song. And it was such a fun... Oh, and we also did Pest Control as well. I'm forgetting that one. Pest Control by the Radioactive Chicken Heads was another one that we did. And it was such a fun show. And everyone in the band and everyone in the audience was so into it. Someone came, they were recording on a 3DS, which was like so perfect for what we were going for. And since then, I had the idea to make the Derpy Hooves video because... I was working on the K4ia one, and that one was a disturbing mess, and I it was a good video, but just researching that sort of thing, it was not good mental health-wise. None of the dark videos tend to be. Yeah,
because I did a video similar to that. I don't know if you clicked through my channel, I did a video about this, like, TikTok, like, rabbit hole I went down. It was just, like, reposted fetish content. I ended up taking it down because I was just like... Because all the comments were like, dude, it's just fetish content. Don't look too deep into it. And I just took it down until I found someone who plagiarized the video. And I just put it back up. Yeah.
Well, you gotta keep your standing as the creator of it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So that video, it's rough to work on that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I was talking, we did a photo shoot for the band I'm a drummer in, Chismo, and the bassist, Mike, was talking to me about My Little Pony and how he used to like it. And I don't think he knew about my brony past, but that started me. He asked who my favorite pony was, and I was like, oh, it's Derpy. And he's like, oh, wasn't there what happened to Derpy? And then, Derpygate all flooded back into my mind. And then I realized, wait a minute, this is my next video. And, so it was, and so I reached out to Polybius and was like, we're going to write a Derpy Hooves song to cap off the video. It's going to be the greatest Derpy Hooves video ever made. And initially it was just a single, and then I was like, you know what? Let's do a whole EP. Let's start releasing music. Like, let's officially be a band outside of just doing performances. And and now the rest is really history. We've got this long ass notes document of all these future songs that we're really, really excited for. And we've got a show in scarily 4 days. So it's all coming together. But yeah, that's the origin of Cringecore and Polybius and the Derpy Hooves EP as it stands now.
That coming show, that smells like Halloween Spirit, right?
Yes, smells
because
like
that's
Halloween
a big
Spirit.
one. Because that's a big one for you. Because you started that in 2021.
It's the
because I remember watching. I was watching one of your videos on it, or not on. Yeah, it was one of your videos. You mentioned it, and then you played a clip where you were dressed up as Captain Rex.
I was Boba Fett.
Oh, yes. Boba Fett. You're dressed as Boba Fett. And I just thought that was really cool. You were doing like pop punk covers of just like popular Halloween songs. So how'd that come about? The whole smells like Halloween Spirit thing.
That was part of that same initial decision when I was like, oh, I want to play Helena by MCR. That show was set up mainly by my friend. I had barely any involvement in it. But she's like, what do we call it? And I'm like, okay, so we're doing like rock music at a Halloween show. And then it just came to me, smells like Halloween Spirit. I didn't like read it anywhere. It was just like, oh, like Nirvana. And the rest is history. You know, it's clearly a show formula that works. The first one we did probably had like 100 people come. Second one, which was fully my setting up, had another 100 people. And since then, my brother's kind of taken the lead on the logistics of it and reaching out to venues and stuff. But last year we did one, about 120 people came. This one's projected to have like 160 people. Because the Instagram post, what's it called? The analytics are showing really, really promising results. So I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got another Brony horror song cover. We're doing Rainbow Factory.
That one, I remember that one so well.
It's classic. It's classic, and it's a good song too. I've listened to it more in recent times. I actually really enjoy it. So I'm really hyped for that. So that smells like Halloween Spirit, October 26th. Which is probably already passed before this uploads, but it's all good.
Yeah, the whole like Halloween aesthetic. I'm guessing Halloween is your favorite holiday. You did make the video of. I remember you did make a video on Halloween about like having Christmas stuff like show up during the season.
Yep, the war on Halloween. It's real. And it gets worse every single year. It's crazy. I love Halloween. You know, what's kind of scary to me is that the older I get, the more appreciation I grow for Christmas. And that is concerning to me because I feel like so at some point it's going to overtake Halloween. But as it stands now, Halloween continues to be my favorite holiday. And I've got a Helldiver costume this year. Tearing it up this Halloween, to say the very least. I'm really excited for it. And I'll probably be performing in it. We have another show coming up on Halloween Day that's just a little outdoors thing. And I will be performing as the Helldiver. Yeah, I'm hyped. Mm-hmm.
So is Nightmare Before Christmas, is that a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie to you?
I have strong feelings on this. I think it's 100% a Halloween movie. I think I think you can watch it as both, but the argument that it's a Christmas movie, like, it doesn't have Christmas vibes. Also, Halloween movies there's so many Christmas movies. Let us have Nightmare Before Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh yeah,
the main character's a skeleton. I think that already tells you all you need to know. It's a Halloween movie about Christmas. That's how I think. And I actually recently attended a small convention that featured the voice actors and one of the directors of Nightmare Before Christmas, and they also say that it is indeed a Halloween movie. So that counts.
Mm-hmm. So you seem to be very big into dressing up because you have the Helldiver costume that you did wear at, was that Comic-Con?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have a history of a bunch of other costumes as well. Like you mentioned Boba Fett. I'm trying to remember what else you've been. I think
I've got a Clone Trooper's armor as well. And I dress like a pirate most of the time, as I am right now. But that's not really like a costume. It's more just like my clothes. If I were to show you my wardrobe, it's more like, I guess, costumey stuff than it is normal clothes, if that makes sense. So that's I love it. You know, it's fun. The way I like to look at fashion is that you are your own customizable like video game character skin. You know, like if you have the clothes and you have the money to buy the clothes, what is stopping you, essentially? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so where'd your fashion roots come from? Because I was about to ask about that, like you dressing up.
And so I I was not always as dripped out as I am now. I was actually like the opposite of dripped out. Until 2021, give or take. Like before that, for context, I can send you a link. My old fit when I was like 15, I was like a total Redditor, very shut in. I would wear like this green Star Wars army jacket, ripped up, not intentionally, like just from overuse, ripped up Adidas sweatpants with the stripes, like the Russian ones, and then like a NASA t-shirt or something like that. Like it was bad. It was really bad. But in 2020, I had this big change of character, change of self. I wanted to be like cool. I wanted to get a girlfriend. And so I started to dress more athletically, more like, you know, what is it called? Sleeveless shirts and that sort of like more tank tops. Started to try to dress a little cooler. But it really kind of came together in 2021 when I got my first YouTube paycheck. The first thing I did was go straight to a Hot Topic, and that was my kind of baby bat moment. That's where it all started to sort of come together. Not that the 2021 fits were the best. A lot of them were very like everything was Hot Topic, which, you know, is how most sort of alternative people start. But as the years went by, especially in 2023, I was in this band that is currently on hiatus, but it'll come back. I was in this band called the Scallywags that I started, which was a pirate shanty band. And so I bought this beautiful pirate jacket, and it's just been downhill since, basically. Yeah. Or uphill since, depending on how you see it. But yeah, that's my origins. I have a hard time. People ask me like what I am, and I don't have an answer because it changes day by day. Like in terms of like what I dress as. Am I emo? Am I goth? Am I like pirate goth? Am I cringecore? Depends on the day. We'll see. So yeah, that's mainly my origin story. Yeah.
I was about to ask because I just forgot. I remembered you dressed up as Willy Wonka, so I want to ask you.
Yep.
Who is the best Willy Wonka out of Johnny Depp, Gene Wilder, and Timothée Chalamet? Who is the best Willy Wonka? Gene Wilder?
Gene all the way.
Good
In
answer.
my personal opinion, I think he captures the character so well, and he's like, he has the perfect mix between like odd and concerning, but also warm and charismatic. And I think that the other Wonkas are two steps in the extremes. I think that Timothée Chalamet is he's not creepy at all. He's not weird. Like he's just like whimsical and silly. And then Johnny Depp Wonka is this very like weird, maladjusted Michael Jackson kind of character, which is a decision to go with. But in my personal opinion, I think Gene Wilder does the both, like plays the two parts of that character the best way.
So
I have my hat. You can actually maybe see it up there. No.
Oh, the Wonka hat.
There? Yeah, there it is, next to the Orion mask. And that's my general kind of like outro zone. Oh, yeah. Well, this is the new outro zone, but that's the old one. But
yeah, because I remember you were watching the Disney video you did, and then you were I remember it was so funny because you were like, my bad guys, I'm just Wonka maxing. I thought that was so funny.
That's right. Yeah, I'll do it sometimes. I'm actually dressing up as the Onceler because we're doing How Bad Can I Be at the show next week. And so I'm going to be wearing the Wonka jacket and the top hat, and I got these green, like, Onceler gloves, and I have these glasses that just fit perfectly. So it's coming back. The Wonka maxing is coming back in a new form, and I'm really excited for that personally. I've got like 3 costume changes, something like that for that show.
All right. And so in regards to like your content, so the way I discovered you was when you released the Gen Z childhood trauma Iceberg. And like I was like just watching a bunch of like Iceberg videos. Like I watched like Tuvs, I watched like Wendigoons, and then I saw yours. And I think yours really stuck out to me because it had a bunch of videos that I just forgot about, like the Cyriac Meows video and just a bunch, like, all the My Little Pony like creepypasta videos. That one really stuck out to me. But like, what made you like my favorite YouTuber was around maybe last year. I was just binging a bunch of your videos. I didn't even realize it was you. I was watching the I Can't Sleep video, amazing. The Annoying Orange video, one of your Elsa Gate rabbit holes. I was just watching them. I was like, wait a minute. These are all made by the same person.
The Iceberg guy. Yeah.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, and I just thought that was like amazing. Because like I've always been big into the whole YouTube horror commentary scene. Like even like back in like middle school, let's say around 2016, 2019, I was watching a lot of Scare Theater and Expo and Some Ordinary Gamers. And then now back in high school, I was watching a lot of you. I was watching a lot of Tuv and Wendigoon. So yeah, I mean, so like let's talk about your start, because I'm assuming the Iceberg is where it really kicked off. But before then, you've always had these just for fun videos, like the video of you at BronyCon, the M's commercial. Just let's get to the history of Raymundo 2112.
I'll give you a hit. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. I'm honored for being the favorite YouTuber. But yeah, the history runs pretty deep, but I'm not going to go into all of it. The channel, the Raymundo 2112 channel, as it stands now, as I mentioned earlier, it used to be Ray Gamerman, which was the sister channel, the gaming channel of Ray Movie Man, which was my main channel. And I just kind of made, pretty regular kid videos then. And the first video of mine that kind of blew up and went semi-viral was actually not an Iceberg video, but rather in 2014, I made a video showing, I don't know if you remember, if you were into Five Nights at Freddy's at the time. But
I think I saw that. I saw
the FNAF is real. Yeah. Because when you look at most popular, it's like 8th place there, which is crazy. But yeah, so I made that video. I made 2 of those, which are now at a combined 1,200,000 views, something like that. So that got me to around 2,000 subscribers 3,000. And that's all they watched. That's all they wanted to watch. And the rest of the channel was just kind of just stuff for fun. It had become the main channel once all those subscribers came. Ray Movie Man got kind of abandoned. And, I just kind of did whatever I wanted to do. And it was a lot of fun. And then I saw the first ever Iceberg video that was made, which was about the Mario 64 Iceberg. And that video blew my mind, and I realized that icebergs were my new favorite genre of YouTube video, at least for the time.
Every copy is personalized.
Exactly, yeah, it captured my imagination so much, but the formatting also was so interesting. And then I saw one on Luigi's Mansion, and I was like, okay, this is fantastic. So in 2021, in January, I decided to make my first ever iceberg video, take my own swing at it. And that was the Punch-Out Iceberg. But that video never actually got finished because I didn't know what I was doing. I actually still have the script for it somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but it was very rough. It was, I made maybe 7 to 8 entries in, and then the OP who made the iceberg was like, oh, I'm actually making a video about this. So I was like, okay, I don't want to double it up. So I kind of abandoned the iceberg thing for a little while, and then I kept watching them, and I kept being like, I want to do this. I want to find one that is something that I'm interested in and just research all of it and get into it. And so one day in, I think it was March of 2021. Yeah, it was March 2021. I sat down, it was 3 a.m. and I searched on Reddit r/iceberg charts, and I found a Gorillaz iceberg. And I was like, okay, you know what? I like Gorillaz. They're my favorite band. This is what I'm going to do. But I wasn't too sold on it. A lot of it was just kind of lore within the story, which wasn't as interesting to me as talking about the music itself. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I checked, I was like, one more refresh, we'll see what happens. And then I found the Gen Z childhood trauma iceberg. And upon reading the first level of it, and then the second level, and then the third, I immediately knew that this is what I had to do. This is what I'm going to go full effort into, because I remembered literally every single one of them except for 2 entries. I'd seen everything else. There's about 150 entries into that iceberg, the original one. I'd seen all of them. And so I woke up the next morning and I sat in this very chair on this very desk and I wrote. And initially the plan was actually to make the iceberg video the whole video was going to be the whole iceberg video. And then I decided it's going to take a lot of time, so I'll split it into 2 parts. And then someone else made a video on the Gen Z childhood trauma iceberg, which made me panic. And luckily that video was a very abridged version and was only a quarter of the entries. And so I was like, oh, thank God, we're chilling. But I realized that more and more people were going to start making this video because it's such a good iceberg. So I was like, okay, we're making it 4 parts so I could get the part 1 out as soon as possible. And so I did. I commissioned someone on Fiverr.com for about $15 to draw my favorite character from my favorite childhood restaurant, Mars 2112. This guy, Captain Orion, as a YouTube model. And so he did, and the first video came out, and immediately it did a lot better than my average uploads. Had 1,000 views by the end of the day. That was pretty amazing. And then about 5 days later, it hit something in the algorithm, and it was at 10,000 views in the last 48 hours, which was absolutely huge. You haven't seen anything like that since the FNAF days. And I was still working on part 2, still continuing all of it. And so this was the coolest thing ever. And that solidified, okay, I'm doing this. And, I released the 4 entries, and around the part 3 mark, I was like, you know what? There's more to say. So many comments are like, oh, what about this thing? What about that thing? And they weren't in the iceberg. So I realized, let's give the community a chance to essentially create their own childhood trauma iceberg, which is where the Gen Z Childhood Trauma Iceberg Community Edition was born, believe it or not. And so that was the next 2 parts, essentially. So in full, it's like a 6-part series that amasses around 3.5 hours, which is a lot of time. But so that was essentially what got me there. What kind of blew me up to like 50,000 subscribers, give or take. Or no, it was more like 40,000. And I kept making videos. None of them did as well, which I kind of expected. And then I started working on the Nostalgia Iceberg. Also didn't do as well. And everything started to slow down quite a lot. And I'm not going to get into personal life, but things were really difficult at that point as well. And I had my priorities all out of whack. So my YouTube channel kind of fell out of line with what I was focusing on, which essentially led to channel death. And a lot of my videos just, like, I had such a lack of passion going into it. A lot of them didn't have scripts. They weren't very well edited or well researched. And I thought they were at the time, but looking back, they're not good. And lots of people just stopped watching. The average views a video would get was like 20,000, which to some is a lot, but to a channel at the size that I was at and what I was used to be getting, it was like nothing. I was making like, on a good day, $20 a day, which, not the best. And so, yeah, the channel was dead, and I didn't really know what to do, but I just kept soldiering on. And then I made a video about the backrooms being ruined, which was just an opinion piece, another unscripted video. And that one did very, very well. It's sitting at like almost 2 million views now. And that put me back into it. And I was like, all right, we're going back into it. This is my full-time occupation again. Here we go. And that's where the original discussing Return of Elsagate video happened. Because it was something that I'd been noticing, and I'm very passionate, like genuinely, about children's safety online. You and I have both seen some crazy shit on the internet.
Yeah.
And so my whole idea is like, let's make sure it ends with Gen Z, right? Like, if we can make enough people aware of what's going on, then the parents of the future will hopefully have better moderation of what their kids consume. So that was the main idea with the original Elsagate video, and that also did really well. That's, I think, second most popular video, 2 million something views, which is good. I'm so glad that blew up, because I think it's a very, very important video. There are things that I would change now if I were to remake it, but ultimately I think my point still stands. And from there, basically, things just started to get better and better and better. More people were watching. I think around May of 2023, I hit 100,000 subs, which was just this insane, huge milestone. That was after the 2 Brony videos came out, which were, I think, very good videos. Those are some of my favorite, personally. And yeah, I was working at a toy store at the time, and so I didn't have all the time in the world to make videos, but I kept going. I would go from working my day shift to working my night shift of YouTube videos. And I think some of my best work was done during that time. The I Can't Sleep video came out around then, and the Annoying Orange video as well, which was a lot of fun. And and so basically, I think, things have just been steadily improving in quality and writing and everything like that. And it's come to the point now where I no longer work at that toy store. YouTube is my full-time occupation. And so yeah, it's really it's a crazy thing. And we're kind of, basically, now we're here. And now I got soft canceled by the commentary community.
Oh yeah.
So, which as we speak, I'm working on a follow-up remastered version of that. Mm-hmm. But
yeah. So what goes through your head when picking these topics? Because you made the shift from the icebergs to the actual video essay commentary stuff. So what goes through your head from picking these topics? Because you have a lot more serious, we need to speak kind of topics, like the Unalive video, the Slop video, the Elsagate rabbit holes, and then you also have just a lot more wackier topics like Derpy Gate. You have the peanut butter video, the Disney Parks one. Just what goes through your head when picking these topics?
That's actually such a good question. And my answer sounds really kind of cheesy and stereotypical, but I make videos that I want to see that don't exist yet, basically. Like, for example, with the more serious ones, the intent there is because I want to start a conversation about something. I want to make some sort of change and make my thoughts and feelings clear. Sometimes they're more important than others. Like the Elsagate stuff, I would say, is more important than the Unalive stuff. At the same time, there's still a point to be made and something that I want to make clear to people. Not just my audience, but just have a kind of a statement out there. Because a lot of the times, like you'll notice that most of my videos, there isn't another video that already exists that is like them. Not in all cases, but in most cases. Like the K4ia one, for example. No one else talked about this guy, or at least hasn't talked about this guy in like 8 years. And so I was personally someone who saw a bunch of his shit growing up. Most of us were. And I went on this deep dive. Turns out it was way deeper of a dive than I was imagining. But, it came out. That was a good one. That was a collab with Scumbagovich as well. So yeah, it's honestly like, there is a big tonal shift, like you mentioned. It goes from like internet vigilante guy to like fun, feel-good, more goofy videos. And that's actually directly showing in the next things that are coming up. I'll give you a little teaser. Next video is going to be a remastered version of the Slop video. Very different video. Very different. But it has the DNA of the original. The next one's going to be about Fortnite and the old art style and how beautiful. And you'll see. It's a long... It'll go much farther than just Fortnite. And then after that is going to be a Wonka candy video where I go out, I Wonka Max around New York. And that one's also going to be a lot of fun. And then after that is going to be basically a compilation video of the 2 Brony Trauma videos, the Derpygate video, a cover of Rainbow Factory with Polybius, and also new entries, things that I didn't cover in the original. So it's not going to be just like, here's 2 videos mashed together, or 3 videos mashed together. Like, it's all going to be one big cohesive project. So yeah, very tonally inconsistent. And that is because, it is what I want to see. If I wanted to see a video about Derpygate, so I made one. I wanted to see a video about K4ia, so I made one. And I think that kind of bites me in the butt, in a sense, because in terms of advertisers, they don't know what to expect from me, ever. So, which is fair. Which has definitely led to me not getting as many sponsorships as my peers who make consistent content, which, I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't do all this just for the money. It is my job, but like, I prefer make a good video that I want to see than just like something that will make money, if that makes sense.
So have you had problems with sponsorships, like them being like, oh yeah, we can't sponsor this video, or because I've never been sponsored before. I just like hear stories from like watching YouTubers that talk about like them rejecting someone like Raid Shadow Legends or something like that, or like a sponsor will drop them because of a certain situation that happened, like the Adpocalypse, for example. Yeah. Have you ever had like a problem with like sponsorships?
So, I mean, in terms of like actually getting a sponsor, there have been people who offer and then never like follow up, which is annoying. But like, I've had personal problems with some sponsors. I worked with Raid once, and I'm never doing it again because they're very... I'm not going to divulge. I'm probably under some sort of contract. But, like, they're not great to work with. War Thunder was a good sponsor. They paid well. But they were really, really anal about corrections to, like, little tiny edits to the video. So I had, like, 7 revisions, which kind of bothered me. But in terms of sponsors having a problem with me, at least from my end, I haven't heard anything. I'm under Nano Zebra, which is an agency that, like, works with YouTubers to get them sponsors. They argue for your rate, and then they take 20% and you get the rest, basically. And they're awesome. It's run by the gamer from Mars, if you know him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've actually been relatively fine, all things considered. Just it can be a little dry at times.
And then a question the communities was like asking is, why take down the Slop video? Because from my understanding, it did very well, and a lot of the comments were in support. You got acknowledged by Keemstar. So like,
it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, I was not
yeah, so what happened there? So like, what happened like with you taking it down?
Yeah, that's a good question, because that's kind of the question on everyone's mind. The video, I guess to preface it, the video was my best performing of all time. It was a 1 out of 10 fully, beating out the Tragedy of Gen Alpha, which was my former best performing. I was getting like 2,000 to 4,000 subscribers in the 3 day, like every day in the 3 days that it was out. And it was truly just a mega success, right? And it had like a 96% like ratio. Like, it was being taken very well. But the people who I were talking to, or talking about more so, did not take it well. And there was a lot of criticism that was clearly came out of a bruised ego, that clearly came out of just someone being, or like, you know, viewers being pissed that their favorite YouTuber was talked about in a not so positive light. But there was also a lot of really solid criticism that the video received. Things that I didn't really realize, things that I didn't really consider while I was making the video. It was a very spur of the moment sort of project, and full transparency, it started off as a video about Moon. You watched the video, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it started off as a video about Moon, which then I watched the Flaze Fire video, the X situation is why. And the whole time I was writing the Moon video, before I watched the Flaze Fire one, I was like, this issue is way bigger than just Moon. And I watched that video, and it kind of put a lot of my thoughts into words, so I decided to make a video about Slop content. So I think the video had a solid basis, but it was very unorganized. There was a lot of things that didn't really... I think I cast too far of a net into what Slop actually is, and that, I think, was quite a problem, because, you know, I didn't really distinguish the difference between someone like Pyrocynical's stream clips being called Slop versus, like, Moon's videos called Slop, or you know, something along those lines. And, like, I ended up being on some calls with some streamers, and they poked a lot of holes into the videos, and there's a lot of things that I had to concede, or not had to concede, but that I did concede because they were right. And the attention that the video was getting was more and more negative, and I was getting kind of more and more pushed and intimidated by people. And I, like, if that was the thing alone, and I still believed I was completely right, I would have just ignored it. But the fact that there was all this pushback and you know, kind of damage to how I was being viewed, and the fact that the video had a lot of things that I felt, you know, after talking to people, were not the best arguments to make, I decided to private it and make a statement about it. Because there were parts that were under-researched, there were parts that were not presented well, and it was just kind of a video made that was an opinion piece, but wasn't really presented as an opinion piece. And there was that, you know, that inherently is an issue. And so, yeah, I took it down, and I look at my analytics, and it makes me cry, because, like, the spike to the immediate, like, delve is so saddening. But ultimately, like, I don't want to have a project that's out that misrepresents my viewpoints, or kind of, you know, isn't up to the standards that I set. At least I personally hold myself up to some pretty harsh standards most of the time, just in terms of what I produce and how proud of it I am. I wasn't super proud of the Slop video, but I felt as though it was, like, kind of good enough, and I just wanted to make something that was more in line with what I usually do. And that was a bad idea. You know, I think the revised version that I'm working on now is a much, much better video, and is it's much more of a Raymundo 2112 video than the original was, if that makes sense. But yeah, ultimately I took it down because it wasn't good enough. You know, a lot of valid criticism was given, but like I said, it was also scary. It was very intimidating to have all these people kind of come at you. But at the same time, I asked for it. I poked a nest. I poked the hornet's nest. I went swimming in shark-infested waters. And that's not to be derogatory towards the commentary community, but it's just ultimately the truth. I was in the wrong place. I was criticizing people in the wrong way, and I kind of saw the results from that. And that's why it's gone. But I still have a point to make, which is why the revised version is coming out. Because I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I am not going down not without a fight, but without a statement to be made. I still want my word to be out there. I think it's just presented a lot better now, and my opinion has also changed a lot when interacting with people, because I interacted with a lot of people from the commentary community who gave their criticism and some feedback, and a lot of them were really friendly and really constructive. Yeah, so I've just taken a lot into consideration, and that's really why it's gone and coming back very soon.
Is there a specific piece of criticism or feedback that you got that you'd like want to like talk about?
Yeah, just any of them? I think really, like what I mentioned earlier, was the unfocused nature of the video, kind of casting too wide of a net, which I think was an issue. Also, my use of kind of like B-roll footage, like a lot of the video is just me kind of scrolling through people's YouTube channels. And that, as an editor, as a YouTuber, just kind of like, whatever, it's just footage. But when it's like synced up to the words that I'm saying that are pretty harsh criticisms, that misrepresents people. For example, Larix, who was one of the people who called me on stream, his channel showed up when I was talking about commentary stuff, and it was just like playing as footage while I was talking about different things. But one of the things that I say while the footage is shown was like whether or not the information that they use is factual or not, they'll still make videos. I wasn't personally talking about Larix, but his channel was on screen. I didn't intend for it to represent him, but his channel was on screen, so in a sense it represented him, and that was a big issue with it. And it's a lesson that I've learned in being really selective with what footage that you use. I apologize to him. It was a blunder on my end, but that I think is a very solid piece of criticism that I took into consideration. And yeah, the Smart Schoolboy 9 stuff as well. I still agree with the points made, but
yeah, because it was
kind of unrelated.
Out.
Yeah, it wasn't really related to the full concept, and that has been completely cut from the revised version. I have a somewhat of a script talking about, like, just fleshing out what I meant to say there. I think the dual criticism is kind of funny. People are like, oh, it's way too long, while other people are like, this is not long enough and not in depth enough. Yeah. And I agree with the people who say it wasn't in depth enough, because it said a lot in a very little amount of time and didn't really go too far into these things. And there was too much that was talked about, where the actual slop problem wasn't fully addressed. And when you have a YouTube video called YouTube has a slop problem, you should address the actual slop problem and like present it in a way that is digestible and understandable. So yeah, it really is like this next one is going to be a lot more in depth, a lot more focused, and I'm excited for its release. I know I'm going to get a lot of shit for it, just inherently. I think a lot of these people just aren't really going to give a second chance. I think they already hate me, and that's fine. That's just kind of what comes when you are a YouTuber and you give criticism to people, and I'm not salty about it or anything like that, but I know it's going to happen. But I feel like it's a lot more airtight and the points are less provocative, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Will you ever make a separate video about Smart Schoolboy 9? Because I did fully agree with your points about Smart Schoolboy 9, because I do think it's like everyone's kind of blown it out of proportion. It's like, yeah, you get the slop side of things, everyone's covering it, but it's like the same exact information. Yeah. And then you also have like the whole like people dressing up as Smart Schoolboy 9, or just like having like just parodies of it,
Yeah, it really is like the cosplay and the memes that are my main issue. Because it really, it's like the point I made in the video is that it's like we really shouldn't be kind of infantilizing these people who are, genuinely predatory and could cause harm to actual kids. And, it's gotten to the point now where his image and all of his information is so widespread that kids have been going out and trying to hunt him. Someone threw a brick through a window of something that was allegedly his house. It's like, it's gone too far, and it's not the first time. My problem isn't with people making jokes about predators. It's about really the nature of the way that they handle the situation and the way that I think that there should be some sense of, like, it's not, the word isn't respect, obviously, but it's treating a situation with the weight that it has, if that makes sense. Like I said, there is the start of a script there. I don't know if I'm really going to fully go through with it, but you may or may not see a video on Smart Schoolboy 9 in the future. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and with you, like, having this newfound, like, success and fame, you have worked with a bunch of big YouTubers. Like I mentioned earlier, you were called the first ever YouTube scholar by Pyrocynical.
Yep. Crazy.
You were recognized by Keemstar. And then you were also on Some Ordinary Gamers podcast with, of course, Mudahar, Oompaville, a name I'd rather not mention. You've also... yeah.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then you also interviewed Kane Pixels, the guy who made the Backrooms video. You interviewed Sensitive Society in the Slop video, and then you've also worked with Dire Trip and Scare Theater.
Oh, yeah.
So how was that like, just working with these big creators?
Dude, it's wild, because I don't see myself as a YouTuber. I'm just some fucking guy from Brooklyn, but I have connections to all these people who, I have looked up to and watched for so many years. Gamer from Mars, I was watching when I was like 8, 9 years old. JonTron I recently met at VidCon. That one blew my mind because that's like a cartoon character walking out of the screen. He's a real guy. I've talked to him, mostly to his wife. His wife is also, she's really cool. She's very nice. Like, all these people, you know, and Scare Theater, too, was someone who has inspired my work and inspired most people in the horror niche's work so heavily. Meeting him was crazy. The way that went out was, he made a video on I Can't Sleep, like, right after mine. He was already working on it, obviously. It just happened to come out. It was unfortunate timing.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, he commented on my video, I commented on his, and he said he was going to the Baltimore VidCon. So, and I was also going, so I was like, yo, let's meet up. And so we did, and we just kind of, he was like hammered, and we fucking just walked around the Baltimore harbor, and we rented scooters, and we went to these restaurants, and it was one of those fun nights of my life. I was completely sober through the entire thing as well. So it was just, oh my god, it was amazing. It was amazing. And yeah, so later I asked him, you know, now we know each other, we're buddies, so I asked him to read some stuff out in the Carnival video. Like, that's how a lot of it goes, is you know, you meet these people, you get along, and then you're like, hey, you want to collab? And they're usually like, yeah. I don't think I've ever been denied a collab before. You know, it's a pretty easy thing to do. You pick up your microphone and you say some words, and then you send it over through Discord, and then you're good to go. But yeah, there's some times where it's gotten to more than just a YouTube collab. Like I met Scumbagovich at VidCon, and she also lives in New York, which is super cool. So I had her on the K4ia video, and then she came onto my podcast, the Bloodcast, and that was also a lot of fun. So you got to have like an in-person, you know, banter. Cystix as well, who made the Annoying Orange video. We're actually like pretty close friends in real life, because he lives in Brooklyn, and I didn't know that when I made the video. I just reached out to him since he made, you know, the Annoying Orange video, and I wanted to have his input. And yeah, we're totally buddies. And yeah, and with Dire Trip as well. He and Brugly and Fox Akimbo and Knight are our group name is the NBR, the Nightmare Blunt Rotation. And that came about because I did a collab with Fox Akimbo at the start of 2022. And then he messaged me like, hey mate, do you want to go to VidCon? I'm going with Brugly and all these guys. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So, you know, just that one collab led to my friendship with all these people. And really that you know, at VidCon is where it all happens, really. If you want to meet people, if you want to network, VidCon is the way to go. I highly recommend it. But yeah, it's crazy. It's like, you know, I think it gives you a level where you realize that a lot of these people, if not all of these people, are very much just humans. Like, they're not celebrities. They're just people like you and me. We're just guys who sit at a computer for 8 hours a day and write and edit. And it's like, you know, there is this level of like fame and this shock that you get from meeting somebody with 1 million subscribers or who you've been watching for years. But ultimately, once you kind of get to meet them, it starts to wear off a little bit. And it's like, okay, you know what? You're a guy, you're a talented guy, but you're just a guy. And this is really cool. You know, there's a lot of things we can relate on. There's all this stuff. But it is really weird hearing like one of your favorite YouTubers' voice when they're just talking to you, like Scare Theater. Yeah. He sounds exactly the same in his videos as he does in real life. So I was like getting a live Scare Theater video about anything that we talked about. And it was so cool. So yeah, you know, it's amazing. It all just comes from getting out there and talking to people, really. Yeah.
Yeah, because I had Adrian Gasly as my first guest for the show. And like just having him on here was like really insane to me because I watched a lot of his stuff back in the day. And of course, having you here too, it's just like really crazy.
It's weird stuff, right? It's like, how am I, what, huh? Right? Yeah, it's really, really cool stuff. But, yeah, this lifestyle is totally, sometimes it's the most rewarding and amazing thing in the world. And most of the time it is not. But for those moments in which it is, it really is, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone you'd want to collab with in the future?
Yes. Okay, my dream collaboration. Do you know Is?
Oh, yeah. That's another one of my dream guests, too, for this show.
They are so cool. And I have been watching their videos since, like 2022, 2023. I don't know. Whenever they really started to, like, the very beginning of their success, like, when it stopped being, like, art commentary and started being in-person stuff. And I've been a fan for a while now. And I think that they are a very similar type of person as I am. They love very similar things, and I've reached out to them multiple times for the original 2 Brony Trauma videos and also for the Derpy Gate video, and I have not gotten a response, unfortunately. But and for that reason, it's that much more like, okay, I need to make this happen. So is definitely my dream collaborator for sure.
Yeah, I'm making like a scratch off ticket, and it's like, all right, all the dream guests I want for the show, and you were the first scratch off.
Amazing.
So like, I just have like a whole list of them.
Yeah, I mean, just reach out. It's really like a lot of, at least my own insight on this is that a lot of us are happy to talk about stuff, and there's definitely an hour to take off from work and just have a conversation. You know, it's really, it's cool stuff, and a lot of people are definitely willing to do it as well. I know every member of the NBR, if you want to talk to Fox Akimbo or Brugly or Dire Trip, they'll do it. They'll definitely do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking to Adrian Gasly. I was trying to, he was telling me, he tried to get on the show, but it's like, he wasn't really feeling it. I was originally, because like, I'm just kind of afraid to ask like my previous guests or people I've interviewed just for, hey, can you put me on someone else so I can have them on the show? I'm just kind of worried to do that. I don't want to like be that guy that uses someone, you know.
That's fair, but if you want contact 20 of the people I just talked about, I got you. So
yeah, I mean, like having Kane Pixels and Mutahar, like I don't want to use you, but
crazy. Like, yeah, that was like the way it was interesting because the way I found Kane was that he actually commented on my original Backrooms videos saying like, "I'm sorry, guys," and this was before the movie announcement. This was like right after it came out, so it was the start of 2023. And so I like emailed him and I was like, "Hey man, I saw that you commented. Would you be down to do an interview talking about the Backrooms and your opinions on the impacts and the way that it's changed?" And he's like, "Yeah, totally." And I'm like, "Whoa, for real?" And then like we did it, and then the video came out like a year later. It was way delayed, but like a month or two after we did the interview, then it was announced the A24 movie was happening, and that was just like huge stuff. And then with Mutahar, the way that happened was Gamer from Mars, him and I were talking, and he brought him up. And I mentioned something else about him. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, I manage the podcast, so maybe I could, like, if you want to be on, I could totally get you on." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to. Let's do it. Let's go." Unfortunately, it's not running anymore for reasons that we aren't fully aware of. But
I think I know why. I won't say why specifically. I think I remember
I know why too.
Mutahar on an interview, and he brought up a certain situation, and then it was like, all right, maybe this is 100%.
A man of Shad. Nothing's confirmed, but
yeah,
you know, I would not be too surprised, honestly.
And how was that like being on Mutahar's show? Because Mutahar and Oompaville, those are massive creators. Like, Caleb is on my scratch-off ticket for Dream Guests.
Yeah, honestly, he makes amazing. I don't know if you've tried his candy. Sour Boys is genuinely so good. I like, it's next level. So I've been buying his candy since I like, you know, met him. I've never met him in person, unfortunately. But yeah, you know, that was really cool. He's a really nice guy. Both him and Muta are really nice guys. I met Muta first through the podcast, and then in real life, back in the summer, we met as well. We didn't talk much, but you know, he knew who I was. Obviously, I know who he is. So you know, it was pretty impactful stuff. I have this. Actually, my like little wingman is this Peter Griffin action figure.
I think I saw that picture, and he was just
if you saw on the Instagram.
Yeah.
So what I did, like, I had a little satchel, and I don't know where that satchel went, but it's a really great little satchel, and it's just like a little brown one, and I had him sitting there, and people would just come up to me and be like, "Is that Peter Griffin?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I created this game called Pass the Peter, in which you hand someone Peter, they do a Peter impression, then pass it to the next person next to them. And that was like the way that I met a lot of these people, which was so cool. Like I think my first conversation with Ali Tricasso, if you know her, was because of Peter. You know, I got a picture of JonTron holding Peter, or maybe it was Muta holding Peter. I don't know. John's in the picture though. Yeah. So listen, if you ever go to VidCon and if you ever want to really network with people, Peter Griffin is the way to go. I think the Actman also was a big fan of him. It was all these things. Wingman right here. Yeah. So it's crazy. It really is.
Yeah, I saw that photo, and I really liked your caption, the "We are YouTube."
There's that one big like group photo of like all those people. Someone did the math. There was like a couple billion views combined, and the money was like mind blowing. Because you got like Turkey Tom and Mudahar and like Wavy Webster in the same room already. That's like generational wealth. Wavy Webster, he's a really nice guy in real life too. Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, he had a Morbid for fun in that picture too. He's like someone I want to get on.
Oh, he would totally easily do it. Yeah, you should reach out to Aaron. He's nice. Tuv, I'm not so sure about. He's more busy. But
with Morbid, I DM'd him being like, "Hey, you want to?" Because before I had this show, Deep Blue, I had my other podcast, Ztomo. Okay. Yeah, I was like, I messaged Morbid, and he was like, "Hey, you," because I had this plan for Halloween. I was gonna have a bunch of like the commentary horror YouTubers. Like I sent a bunch of emails and Instagram DMs.
That's cool.
Yeah, I had this plan, and the only person who responded was Adrian Gasly. Because I had like Tuv on the list, I had Morbid, I had Mudahar, Scare Theater. Most of them was through business emails, and then like no responses.
That's the thing, is that the way, I'll give some insider info right here. Yeah. Most of these people are under Nano Zebra or very similar sponsorship agencies. So those business emails, we don't actually get them. They go to our manager, who then forwards us a transcript of the email. Okay, so then the way that you respond is by copying the email and then pasting it. Like, it's just, you can't really directly respond to it unless you put more effort into it. And a lot of time you see a notification of an email. It's like, oh, I'll get to that later. You never do. I know I have multiple emails people have given me. I would recommend more so if you can find their Discord or their Instagram is a better way, because it doesn't have a middleman to go through. Because that's most likely what happened with a lot of these people. And Adrian's smaller, so he might not have a business email.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That's probably, I wouldn't give up just yet, basically, is what I'm saying. Yeah,
because I'm just like at that point where I'm like, all right, after I get you and a few others, I'm just going to be like, all right, who else do I have next? Yeah, I'm just kind of like on that point where I'm going to be like, man, I'm running out of guests. These guys aren't responding. That's like the fear I'm having.
That's fair, but I think also the more people that you have on, the more likely other people would be to come on as well, if that makes sense. Like, there's, this guy was on, so I don't know, it kind of lends credibility. It's like how sponsors work. Like, you'll be more likely to get a sponsor if you've worked with more companies. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So hey, if I'm on here, I know these people. If they're like, oh yeah, I know that guy, check this out, or something like that. I don't know. I think there's value in that.
Yeah. All right. And moving on from the content side of things. So like, you're very big into nostalgia. Do you want to like...
Oh yeah.
So like, just talk about like your childhood, like, because like, I think I remember in a video, like we all know you grew up in New York, but also you went to school, homeschooled. So like, just give a bit of insight, like you growing up, because nostalgia seems to be a very big factor for you. And like, I have a whole podcast about nostalgia as well.
Amazing. Yeah. So you get it.
Yeah.
Nostalgia is maybe, it's like honestly, it's gotten to this point now where so much of what I kind of base my life around is in some way representative of nostalgia. Cringecore, Polybius as a concept, it's a period piece, right? It takes place in 2014. So, it's inherently nostalgic. But in terms of like why it's such a thing, like my childhood, I didn't have an easy childhood. I was like, my household, it's not anymore. My household was like abusive and life was difficult. And so there was a lot of solace in the things that I did enjoy. And I think that has brought me more value to those things that I loved so much as a kid. Because I feel like most people, they'll love something to death when they're young, and then they'll just kind of ignore it and kind of disregard it when they grow up. Not even when they're fully adults. Like, you look at children who like love a TV show, like let's say they love like Blue's Clues or something like that when they're little, and then when they're like 7 years old, they're like, oh, I hate it, it sucks, because they're just kind of told they have to move on, right? And I disagree with that. I think that, not that you should be a man-child, but I think you should still be able to honor the things that have brought you joy and that have had value in your life. And that's what I do, clearly. But, it's like, my childhood was fascinating because, living in New York is very different from living anywhere else. I was able to go to some really cool things and experience some really awesome stuff, like you already know Mars 2112, but that was my favorite place in the world. And if I never went there, I think I'd be a completely different man now. I don't think we would be right here if I never went to Mars 2112. But I don't know. But I also, I'm curious to see the reality in which it never existed or I just never knew of it. That would be very interesting. But yeah, it was just like, it was a very, very different time. And I do believe that there's some sort of, I don't know what it is. I really don't, I wish I had an answer, but I think there's something about people when they are children. There's like this great value in life that they just inherently feel despite the hard comings of it. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because you're closer to your spiritual being because you haven't been like on this earth for long enough and you still have that like purity to you. I don't know what it is. But yeah, it's I think that the world through the eyes of a child is really, really special and very different. So there's that part of me that wonders, like, oh, is it purely just nostalgia? Were things really better? Was the world really better when I was a kid, or was it just my own rose-tinted glasses? I think it was. I think we're living in a pretty rough time in the 2020s. Not like it's that much worse to the point where we're living in like a dystopia compared to like 2007, but at the same time, I think the world in at least the United States was a much better place to live back in the day. Back in the Obama administration, dude, holy crap. M&Ms were like $1 to 75 cents. Now it's like, it's insane. It's the cost of living is crazy. But yeah, I really do care a lot about nostalgia. And I have before I was a YouTuber, before any of this was a thing. It's just, genuinely, since I was like 3 years old, since my little brother was born, I was looking back to the good old days before that. I was very jealous. So, it really does kind of, there's a lot of perspective that it gives, and it brings me a lot of joy. But it also brings me sadness at the same time. But I try to transform that into, the sadness and kind of grim, almost like somber feelings that come from remembering really good memories. I think that they are outweighed by the good. And yeah, like I don't listen to music on my phone. I walk around with an iPod every single day. And I have since I was 13 years old. Like, I'm real about this lifestyle. I'm not just playing around. I got my little Windows bracelet here. You know what I'm saying? Like, all aspects are accounted for. And yeah, I don't know. It's hard to give a solid answer on really the truth of it all, and kind of the why. But at the same time, there's so much that can be said. There was so much that has changed, so much that I personally miss, and so much that I want to see change in our current world. I don't think we're doomed forever. I think there's a lot of issues, but I think we can kind of go back in a sense.
Yeah, because like I have another podcast, Ztomo, which is about like Gen Z nostalgia.
Nice.
So
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, it's on the same channel this is going to be on. Okay. I might change the name of the channel that this video is going to be on.
What is the channel currently called?
Ztomo. It's Z-Tomo. I don't know if you know the reference, but it's a reference to Me Tomo, that old phone game. Yeah. And Z just like, Gen Z.
Okay.
At the end of each podcast, we'll always have like some ending reflection notes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll always be like for the mobile games tier list, we were like, damn, mobile games really have changed. It's like, all of it's like commercialized. With the challenges, we were like, the main conversation we had at the end of that episode was that, like Cinnamon Challenge, ALS Ice Bucket, that's not going to be a thing anymore. Like we have all these dog dances that are just killing trends. I guess ALS and like Cinnamon Challenge, those were for fames in a way, but at the same time, people just did it for fun. Like now with like TikTok.
The nature was different. I think fun is the word that kind of defines it. I think as a society, we've moved past the need for fun, and now it's more so like I think there's a distinction that needs to be made. It's like so much is based now on kind of like dopamine hits rather than a long time enjoyment of something. And in terms of like design, philosophy, and technology too, it's more about efficiency than it is enjoyment. At least that's the way that I see things. Like architecture is terrible now. You look at McDonald's from back in the day and McDonald's from now.
No more Chuck E. Cheese animatronics.
Dude, I'm so passionate about this. The new 2.0 Chuck E. Cheese is one of the ugliest and saddest designs I've ever seen. It's so unfortunate.
I hate the little mouse. I missed like the mascot. I hate that mouse.
Avenger Chuck, love that guy. He was so cool. He was like skateboarding and he had a great voice. Now he's bowling for soup. It's weird. Yeah, it's cool that they kept those 5 legacy stores, but like they should have just kept like stopped getting rid of them and made them all legacy stores. I don't know. But yeah, it's really, that kind of shows you the way that we're moving towards things. Chuck E. Cheese is a great example. The new ones, they're flat. They have like, they're two-toned color gradients for most of them. And those are green and beige for some reason. I don't know why that's what they chose. They went from purple and red to green and beige. But it's like, it's no more sky tubes. There's no more animatronics. Everything is just kind of like streamlined to the point of efficiency. But where's the fun? The games are fun, obviously, but there's no more physical tickets, no more tokens. It's all digital. And that to me is like kind of shows you the way that entertainment has shifted a lot, especially for kids. But yeah, it's it's different. You look at like what you're saying with reflection. It's like, oh wait, things have changed. Things are different, and whether or not you think they're worse, I do. It's undeniable at this point.
Yeah, because I live in Vegas right now, and so we have a few things that kids can do, but like for the most part, it's really hot, so kids can't even go outside. And then a lot of the for fun kids stuff, like Chuck E. Cheese, like that changed a lot in recent years. They shut down a lot of like Halloween stuff. I look up like what to do for Halloween here in Vegas, and it's like there's nothing because it's Sin City, so everything's focused on like gambling, strippers. So I do plan on moving because I can't raise a kid here. Like it is not a good place to raise a kid.
Doesn't seem like it would be.
Yeah.
You got that one like Carnival Hotel, and that's it.
Yeah, and that one's like really shabby too, and it's not in like a good area. Wait,
no, I went when I was like 11, and even then I was like, oh, it's smoggy. It's very smoggy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was still fun.
I think I remember in your Iceberg, you talked about, because I've been to New York twice, but not in a long time. I think I remember in one of your Icebergs, it might have been like the Toys R Us or some other amusement park.
Yes.
It had like rides in it, and then you put the picture on there. I was like, why am I having deja vu? I know I've been here for sure.
Yeah, you probably. I mean, it was one of the biggest tourist destinations. That's that kind of shows you as well. Back in the 2000s, we had a toy store with a Ferris wheel in the center of it, a giant animatronic T-Rex, a Barbie house that you could walk through, an arcade. Like, it had everything. It had everything a kid would ever want. And now it's a Gap, it's an Old Navy, it's like a bunch of stores now. It's a Gap, it's an Old Navy, it's a Popeyes, and it's an I Heart New York store. And it's a McDonald's too. It has zero personality at all, and it's all just very sleek and very modern and very corporate. And I miss that place so much because it was just so extravagant, and you could just go there and walk around, not spend $1, and you could still get an amazing experience. It was really. New York has seen a lot of. That's actually one of the videos that's coming up. Is the death of themed restaurants and kind of the death of fun.
Yeah.
I'd imagine it's probably kind of similar in Vegas. No, like there's probably more themed stuff.
Yeah, because we had
gambling themed.
Because there was like a golf course, and they demolished the place, but it was because like I guess the 2008 market crash. So they demolished the place, but they ended up not doing anything with the land. Like, so they just demolished it for no reason. And just living in Vegas in general, like it's just like so hot, and it's like. You go outside and it's all desert, and it's like that's it. It's just not. It's just not the move. Just being here.
It's kind of it's a very weird place at least from what I remember of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very different from like anything else.
Yeah,
I'm actually going next year before
nice.
VidCon, so I'll be 21. So I'm gonna be able to like waste a bunch of my money and just live it up for a couple days and then regret it all a couple days later.
Hey, I might see you here.
Honestly, yeah, we can meet up. We can totally meet up. But I see what you're saying. It's crazy stuff. It really is.
Mm-hmm. So what happened to Mars 2112? Because that is a big part of your childhood. Like,
oh yeah.
So like what? So why was it shut down? Because I tried looking it up.
So Mars 2012 closed down because of 3 separate bankruptcies. They opened in 1998, and then they had their first bankruptcy in 2002. Which makes sense, because tourism was down in New York for obvious reasons in 2002. And then their next bankruptcy was in 2007, when the Paramount Plaza, which is like the building that they're attached to, required them to build a new water cooling system, which cost like a shit ton of money. They had to file for that. And then their final bankruptcy was in 2012, which is when they closed forever. And that was, they were just in debt and weren't making enough money. And the quality of the place had gone downhill majorly in the late 2000s and early 2010s, I guess, in 2011 and 2010. Floors were sticky, food gave everyone food poisoning, the mascot characters were falling apart, the video games weren't working, the flight simulator was just completely broken and it didn't move anymore. You know, it was still had that magic to it, but the paint was chipping from the Martian walls. Like, you know, it was sold sometime in the mid 2000s and the new owners just did not know how to take care of it. But
so how was peak Mars 2112?
Man, it was, well, for context, the way that you'd get into this restaurant was you wouldn't just walk in. The whole thing was underground. So you'd go downstairs and it was this sunken plaza with a giant UFO on the outside of it. And you'd go in and you'd walk into like a NASA style spaceport and then you'd grab a ticket, which was about $2 to ride the flight simulator, which, you know, this awesome like cockpit door would open up from this docking bay. And you'd walk into this spaceship and strap yourself in, and there were all these screens, or like one main screen, and it was a military grade flight simulator that they had bought, so it would shake you around and spin and move, and it would all coincide to the video. And you'd walk out and you'd be in this massive Martian cavern, and all the walls were painted red. Everything was perfectly themed. Like, they spent a lot of money on this place. There was a bar you could go to that was called the Mars Bar, and there was an arcade called the Cyber Street, which was an amazing arcade. And then the main attraction was the Crystal Crater, which was this, like, I think the whole thing was like 34,000 square feet or something like that. It was huge. And that was the dining area. It was this massive crater in the ground. And when you looked above, there was like the stars above were there. And there you'd get your food, but more importantly, you'd be met with different Martians that would walk around. One guy had quite the impact on me. I have a little figure of him right here.
Good
this
old
is roughly
Captain
what
Orion.
he would have looked like. Yep. There he is. The man, the one and only. But yeah, so, you know, it was just this really incredible experience, and apparently the food was also very good. All I ever ordered when I was there was chicken fingers and fries, because I was, like, 4 to 7. And I honestly, if I were to go back there, I would order that again, because they were, like, the best chicken fingers and fries ever. You know battered fries? Like, when they got that crispy, like, kind of...
Oh, yeah.
They had battered fries. That's, like, the best kind of fries ever. And so, yeah, it was really, like, good food, good atmosphere. Expensive for the 2000s, but it would be affordable now. Great games, good drinks, great entertainment. Like, it was such an amazing experience. And, you know, it was the type of thing you'd only really see at somewhere like Disney or something like that. And, you know, obviously, the foundation was still there in its worst years, but, like, all of the quality started to chip away. But when you're 7 years old, you don't realize that. You just say, oh, the floors are sticky, and my mom's vomiting after eating. That was still a lot of fun, though. So, you know... But yeah, peak Mars 2112 was really, it was like nothing else. It was so cool.
So, like, how'd that evolve into your whole branding? Because now you have Captain Orion as, like, your mascot, and of course the 2112 in your name.
Yeah, so, interestingly enough, Orion was kind of my mascot in the Ray Movie Man day, or in the Ray Gamer Man days. Kind of, but not really. Like, he was just the profile picture, and that was it. But since the place closed, I have not been able to let go. Clearly. And so I dedicated a pretty decent like chunk of time into making a Mars 2112 documentary, which never came out, and I'll still maybe make it someday. I've been telling myself that for the past 10 years, but I'll make it someday. I think it was in 2014 actually that I started production on it. And yeah, so, you know, I loved it so much, and it's such a part of me that I'm never going to forget it, and I don't want the world to forget it either. You know, I've introduced a lot of people who would have never known about it otherwise, and now they love Orion, and they're making art of him, and like, the Mars 2112 logo is, like, kind of part of my branding, which is this really awesome, like, I don't know what it is, but it's so cool, you know?
Wow, it's sick.
Yeah. And the 2112 name actually came because it was my Fortnite username was Raymundo2112. And
nice.
It came because of Mars 2112. And then I realized, like, you know what? I'd prefer to have 2112 over my last name be there, and Orion's already my mascot. Like, you know, like I said, I commissioned a guy to make an Orion mascot character for the first ever Iceberg video, which was definitely a rough design. I think his design has gotten a lot better over the years. But yeah, that's really how it all came together. And now, you know, Captain Orion and Mars 2112 are completely inseparable from myself, as they should be, because, you know, it's a part of me, and it will continue to be forever. So, yeah. That's the origin.
So there's this meme. It says, men turn 4 and base their personality off 4 things. One of them is dinosaurs, which is for me. Yep. And then there's also space, there's trains, and then there's, I think it was always bulldozers. And then people have expanded the meme to include like trucks or pirates,
pirates,
knights. So which one would you say is yours?
So I actually saw one that was so perfect because it was a column that had space, dinosaurs, and pirates. And I love all those things. Like when I was 7, I was obsessed with dinosaurs so hard. It was when Dinosaur Train came out, so it was like perfect timing. Obsessed. Loved him so much. I knew so much about him. I don't anymore, but I did. So that was me, and I was really obsessed with space growing up. I still love all the theming around it, obviously with Mars 2112 and all that. And then pirates, I love pirate stuff, and I dress like a pirate. So I am that column. I am dinosaur, pirate, Mars, space in general. I love that meme. I saw it and immediately I'm like, oh shit, well I never grew out of being 4, I guess. But yeah, I love it. Those are me. So you said you're dinosaurs.
Yeah, I was pretty big into dinosaurs. Like if you saw me as a little kid, like I had collections of dinosaur toys. I always wore those glow in the dark dinosaur shirts. And
those are so sick. Yeah,
I know, and they're just gone now. I'm like, where'd these go?
Yeah, yeah.
And then, I mean, what else? Dinosaurs. Like, I watched a lot of the show Dino Dan.
I remember that. Yeah, I wanted to be Dino Dan. That was like my aspirations because that's the coolest job in the world.
Being a paleontologist.
Yeah. Who actually gets to like see them. That was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have a video planned. It's about because people have been seeing dinosaurs in real life as like cryptids. I'm really like a few people have done their own versions of it. It's like, but it's more like the AI, like talking about random stuff kind of ones. I'm just like, I want to like do like a full commentary and give my thoughts on it kind of thing.
Yeah, that's like a video. I want to see that. Yeah, that's cool.
I mean,
there's a lot of like, people think Loch Ness Monster and like Champlain Monster. Those are probably just like, what are they, paleosaurs? The water ones?
The plesiosaurs.
There, that's it. Yeah. That's what people say. And I think like, maybe, I hope so. That'd be so cool. If they are indeed real, or if they ever were indeed real. Which,
a lot of them are in Africa because elephants just keep dying. And like a lot of people are just like jumping straight to the conclusion, yep, it's dinosaurs. That's like how a lot of them are. They're just elephants
they find like a corpse and they're just
and it's like dinosaurs.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, let them believe it. That sounds like fun.
I mean, and going back to New York, so another important place for you is Blood Manor, and then you have the whole podcast for it. So talk about like that place and then the podcast. Why is it? Where is it now? Because I've seen it. There hasn't been a few episodes of it in a while.
Yeah. Well, there are in the works. So Blood Manor, it's a haunted house. Obviously, it's a really cool place. It's season right now, but like I told my manager this year, I'm like, hey, is it cool if I just like don't work a lot this year? And she was like, yeah, totally. Cause I've got a lot of YouTube work to do. So I've worked like 2 days there in this entire season, but yeah, I got the podcast because the owner of it was like, hey, I want to make a podcast. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And he's like, do you have any experience with podcasts? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Kind of. And he's like, why don't you be the host? And I was like, I'm so honored. That's the coolest thing ever. So yeah, we did it. There was a pretty consistent stream of episodes for a while. And then all of the crew's life got kind of crazy because it's not just me. It's like, it's a couple other people. Yeah. So basically there hasn't been anything in a little while, but there are 2 episodes that have been in the works for the past 2 to 4 months. It's just our editor is very busy. He works full-time editing, and now he's working almost full-time at the Manor. So there are currently 2 episodes, one of which featuring a costume designer and like who works at Blood Manor, and the other one, like I mentioned earlier, is featuring Frankie Scumbagovich. And we talk about like lol cows and that sort of thing. That one it's such a good episode just from what I remember, but it's it's not out yet. It should be out at some point, hopefully soon maybe. But it really just depends on the editor. He's busy. But I was thinking of just reaching out to my boss and being like, hey, is it cool if I do like Blood Manor Bloodcasts from my home and just interview like horror YouTubers? Because I want the channel to keep going, but at the rate of production, it's not doing anything. So
yeah.
I think there's definitely something to do there, but I haven't asked him yet, and we'll see. If he says yes, then there will be more episodes, and if he doesn't, then the slow stream will continue, basically.
All right, so I'll just have a few bullet questions for you. So your favorite game growing up?
Oh, Star Wars Trilogy, the arcade game. And then like favorite console game was either Monsters vs. Aliens on the Wii or Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
So were you a Nintendo kid, a PlayStation kid, or an Xbox kid?
Full Nintendo. Yeah, I was like, I had a Wii and an NES were my like main things. Yeah, loved both of them.
All right, favorite cartoon growing up, or just any show? It doesn't only have to be a cartoon.
Well, depends on my age. My Little Pony was my favorite for a while, and then the Clone Wars was also my favorite for a while as well. I had quite the SpongeBob phase. Yeah, those are. I mainly watch cartoons. Yeah.
I see your go-to New York spot.
Oh man, like store or just like place to go?
Just place to go.
Honestly, Union Square. There's so much to do there. There's so many cool places. It's a good date spot. It's great to just go with friends. Yeah, Union Square.
All right, and your favorite YouTuber?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the cheesy, I always like. I have the conflict to answer this question because the way that I operate, the way I make my videos, I make myself my favorite YouTuber. Because I'm like, I'll make my videos so I can watch them. Like I said, it's just videos I want to see. And I'll rewatch them and I'm like, man, that was so good. I'm like, all right, I made this video. Like, it's weird. I have this weird cognitive dissonance. Like, I can watch some of my videos and just enjoy them for what they are. Not the Iceberg for some reason. I don't know why. But like the Gen Alpha video and like the Derpy Gate video are both videos that I just like really love myself. But not including myself, I honestly really, really like Izz. I think Izz is one of my favorites of all time. I've also really taken a liking to Lula Loopsy as well. I think she makes really great videos. Yeah, you know, it's a lot of these kind of like more nostalgia-based people that I tend to gravitate towards because I love horror, I love all the creepy stuff, but ultimately what really brings healing into my soul is the kind of, you know, joyful nostalgia things. Yeah.
And then what's my other bullet question? Yeah, your favorite band?
Ooh, I think My Chemical Romance. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like that one should have been obvious.
Yeah. Well, it's like My Chemical Romance, Green Day, and Gorillaz are like the top three, for me at least. So that's your top three list. Yeah.
All right, and then I have this segment at the end of every show. Well, this is like only the third episode, but yeah. Sure. So we have this thing called Mariana's Sketch. I give you a fun fact about a marine animal, and then you have 1 minute to draw the animal. So your animal is a manta ray. So manta rays are filter feeders, eating microscopic zooplankton that drift along the ocean currents. So
perfect.
All right.
And I don't get to see a picture of it. It's just a description.
You can like pull one up if you need to.
Okay.
That was my mistake with Adrian. I gave Adrian an eel, and then I didn't give him a source image because I said gulp. I was specifically like gulper eel, like the eels in the Mario games, and he didn't know what those looked like. So yeah, I mean.
Oh, I like these guys. Yeah. All right. Perfect. All right. So where do I draw this?
You can just use like Microsoft Paint. I did send you like a drawing website link, but yeah.
Is that something you sent? Oh, the paint tool. I see. Yes.
Yeah, or you can just use like MS Paint or anything like that.
Okay.
Right, just let me know.
Manta ray. How many times do I have? A minute?
Just a minute.
Okay. Ready, set, go.
All right, the timer has started.
You know, this thing kind of looks like the Mars 2112 logo, like the top of it, which is interesting. Very, very convenient here.
There's this game I play called Xenoblade, and they have like these alien manta rays. That should be like a mascot for you, or like something in your channel banner. It's like an alien manta ray.
Xenoblade Chronicles, right?
Yeah, that Nintendo game.
Yeah, I know the Smash characters, but I've never played it before.
Shulk.
I'm a normie. This is rough, but honestly, he's endearing.
Now, my last guest drew a jellyfish. That one was like, I don't even know how to describe that one. No offense to him.
Didn't come out the best.
Yeah.
His eyes are a little off, but you know, it is what it is. All right, how much time are we seeing?
The timer just ended for me.
Okay. All right.
Just send
so let me send you a screenshot.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of love this little guy, honestly. I'm not saying it's the best, but I'm saying it also doesn't need to be the best.
So my goal with these is my friend is like a Blender animator. He animated the intro for my other show. I'm trying to have him animate all these into like an aquarium.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Here's my little guy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I give him little spots on the back.
Awesome. Yeah. I had to give him the details, you know.
Yeah, and like right as we're ending the episode, is like any closing thoughts, like you wanted to give out to the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say thank you for having on. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. I think my mouth isn't working. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun.
Of course.
Happy Halloween, or happy Christmas and Hanukkah if this comes out after Halloween. But yeah, thank you very much.
Just thanks again, because this was really crazy just having you. Like I said, you're one of my favorite YouTubers.
That's
pretty
so
much
cool,
the
man.
reason why I went back to YouTube was because I was watching your stuff and was like, wait a minute, me and this guy are the same exact age, and we kind of had like similar experiences.
Right.
And it's like, man, I should do this too. Because I did do YouTube in like middle school, but it was like making memes.
Oh, that was your inspiration to like start actually like.
Yeah, like this kind of content. But yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, just like really crazy because I was just like binging your videos. Now all of a sudden I could have you as my third guest on this show.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just so crazy.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I love to hear it.
I mean, like, give off some plugs. Like, anything you want to plug in?
Oh, yeah, I mean, Derpy Hooves, EP, a Polybius. That's the only thing, because this whole thing is just an advertisement for my channel. Listen to it if you like cringecore, or like pop-punky sort of music in general. I think you'll like it, and if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. That's kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Perfect.
just thanks again, because this was really crazy. Like,
yeah.
before you joined the call, I was just like shaking a little bit. It was like,
there's no
way he's going on.
There's that like nervous anticipation. Yeah.
Yeah, even when you respond to my DM like a few weeks ago, I was just sending a DM because like all right, let me just gonna show appreciation, and then I was like, holy shit, he just responded. And then this is just so crazy.
Dude, I love to hear it. That's awesome. I'm happy that I can like be that for someone, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
for
really
sure.
Cool.
But yeah, thanks again, and thanks to the audience for checking out. Yeah, just check out Deep Blue, Spotify, YouTube, and then also check out Raymundo 21's on YouTube. Check out Polybius on Spotify. I mean, yeah, and then just thanks again.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
thanks for watching.